The WNBA just dropped a nuclear bomb that nobody saw coming. And if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, you need to hear this right now because everything is about to change. Sandy Brondello, the mastermind coach who just won New York Liberty their first championship in franchise history, is suddenly available after the most shocking firing in league history. And here's the kicker that has every Indiana Fever fan losing their minds right now. She could be the missing piece that transforms Caitlin Clark from rookie sensation to unstoppable force. But the league office is absolutely terrified of this happening. And when you hear why, you'll understand exactly what's at stake here. Let me paint you a picture of just how insane this situation really is. Sandy Brondello didn't just have a good run with the Liberty. She completely revolutionized that franchise in just 4 seasons. We're talking about 107 wins against 53 losses. That's not just winning basketball. That's pure dominance. She took them to the finals twice and won the whole thing in 2024. And even when her entire roster was decimated by injuries this past season, she still dragged them into the playoffs. Sabrina Ionescu was playing on one leg. Breanna Stewart's knee was basically held together with tape and prayers. And Jonquel Jones missed significant time. Any other coach would have thrown in the towel and started planning for next year. Not Brondello. She coached her heart out until the very last second. But that wasn't the whole story. And what happened next would shock everyone who follows this league. The day after their playoff elimination, every single Liberty player stood up and defended their coach. Stewart literally said Brondello had their backs, and they had hers. Ionescu called her resilient and praised how she handled adversity. Not one player, not even a bench warmer looking for more minutes, threw shade at their coach. That's when you know you've got something special. These millionaire athletes who could easily point fingers chose to circle the wagons around their leader instead. And then 24 hours later, boom, the front office drops the hammer and announces they won't renew her contract. The timing was so brutal that even rival coaches were texting each other like, "What the hell just happened?" If you think this move makes sense, drop a comment right now and explain it to me because I'm completely baffled. The Liberty's general manager stood at that podium trying to spin this as a mutual parting of ways. But let's call it what it really is. They fired a championship coach who had the complete backing of her locker room. That's not just rare in professional sports. It's practically unheard of. You know what usually happens when a coach loses the locker room? Players start leaking stuff to reporters. Mysterious injuries pop up. Effort drops on the court. None of that happened here. Zero. These players were ready to run through walls for Sandy Brondello, and management basically said, "Thanks, but no thanks." Now here's where things get really interesting for Indiana Fever fans. The second this news broke, social media went absolutely nuclear with one unified message. Bring Sandy to Indiana immediately. And it's not just random fans saying this. We're talking about basketball analysts, former players, and even current WNBA players who aren't on the Fever dropping hints that this would be the perfect match. Think about what Brondello could do with Caitlin Clark's skill set. We're talking about a coach who turned Sabrina Ionescu into a champion, who maximized Breanna Stewart's versatility, and who knows exactly how to build an offense around elite guard play. Clark is already breaking records left and right. Imagine what she could do with a coach who actually understands how to weaponize her range and passing ability. Afterthought to the league's marquee franchise overnight. That's not hyperbole. That's exactly what happened to Golden State when they paired Steph Curry with the right coach and system. But here's the part nobody's talking about yet. Sources indicate that Brondello has already been doing her homework on Indiana's roster. She's reportedly watched every single Fever game from last season, studied their player development needs, and even reached out to contacts about the Indianapolis market. This isn't someone just looking for any job. This is a coach who sees the potential for something special in Indiana. She knows that Aaliyah Boston could be the perfect complement to Clark, that Kelsey Mitchell's scoring ability would thrive in her system, and that the pieces are there for something magical. What happened next in this saga reveals just how desperate other teams are to prevent this union. Multiple franchises have already reached out to Brondello's representatives trying to gauge her interest. Chicago, Los Angeles, and even Dallas are reportedly preparing massive offers. But here's the thing, none of those teams have Caitlin Clark. None of them have a 22-year-old superstar who's already revolutionizing the game. Brondello is smart enough to know that coaching Clark could define her legacy. It's the opportunity to be Phil Jackson to Michael Jordan, to be the architect of a dynasty. The clock is ticking though, And every day that passes without Indiana making a move is another day for complications to arise. Other teams are circling. The media narrative is building, and the pressure is becoming almost unbearable. Fever ownership needs to understand that this isn't just about hiring a coach. It's about making a statement. It's about showing Caitlin Clark and the entire league that Indianapolis is serious about winning championships, not just making the playoffs. The most mind-blowing part is that industry insiders are whispering that if Indiana lands Brondello, it could trigger the biggest free agency frenzy in WNBA history. Players want to win, and they want to play with Caitlin Clark. Combine those two factors with a championship coach, and suddenly Indianapolis becomes the destination everyone wants. We could see super teams forming, rivalries intensifying, and the entire competitive landscape shifting dramatically. That's exactly what Commissioner Engelbert doesn't want, which is exactly why Fever fans should want it even more. Think about the matchups we could see. Brondello's Fever against Cheryl Reeves, Lynx against Becky Hammond's, Aces against whoever takes over in New York. These wouldn't just be games. They'd be chess matches between brilliant basketball minds. The tactical battles, the adjustments, and the strategic warfare that make playoff basketball so compelling. Right now, the Fever are bringing a knife to a gunfight when it comes to coaching matchups. With Brondello, they'd have the biggest weapon in the arsenal. Comment below if you think Indiana needs to make this move immediately, because the window won't stay open forever. Sandy Brondello represents everything the Fever need right now. Championship experience, tactical brilliance, player development expertise, and the respect of the entire league. She's proven she can handle superstar personalities, manage expectations in major markets, and deliver when it matters most. That's not just valuable, that's priceless. The bottom line is simple. The New York Liberty just made the worst decision in franchise history by letting Sandy Brondello go. Their loss could become Indiana's greatest gain if the Fever front office has the courage to act. Caitlin Clark deserves a coach who can maximize her incredible talent. The fans deserve a team that competes for championships. And Sandy Brondello deserves another chance to prove that New York made a catastrophic mistake. This is the kind of move that defines franchises for decades. The question isn't whether Indiana should hire Sandy Brondello. The question is whether they can afford not to. The basketball world is watching. The clock is ticking, and destiny is calling. It's time for the Indiana Fever to answer. What happened next would reveal exactly why the league office is sweating bullets over this possibility. Sources close to the situation are whispering that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and her inner circle are desperately hoping Indiana sticks with their current situation. Why? Because a Caitlin Clark and Sandy Brondello partnership would completely destroy the competitive balance they've been trying to manufacture. Think about it. Clark is already the most popular player in the league by a mile. She's bringing in record television ratings, selling out arenas wherever she goes. Now give her a championship-caliber coach who knows how to build super teams. That's game over for everyone else. The timing couldn't be more perfect for Indiana either. They're coming off a season where they showed flashes of brilliance but lacked the consistency and tactical sophistication to truly compete with the elite teams. Stephanie, White has done some good things. Don't get me wrong, but when you compare resumes, it's not even close. Brondello has 2 WNBA championships as a head coach. She's won gold medals with Australia. She's been coaching at the highest level for over a decade. White has potential, sure, but potential doesn't win championships. Experience and proven systems win championships. And right now, Indiana has a generational talent in Caitlin Clark, who deserves the absolute best coaching available. But that wasn't even the most shocking part of this whole situation. Reports are now surfacing that several top-tier free agents are keeping a close eye on where Brondello lands. We're talking about players who could completely reshape the league's power structure. Imagine if Brondello comes to Indiana and suddenly Breanna Stewart decides she wants to team up with Caitlin Clark. Or what if Sabrina Ionescu, who becomes a free agent soon, looks at Indianapolis as her next destination? These aren't wild fantasies. These are legitimate possibilities being discussed in WNBA circles right now. Players want to play for coaches they trust, and Brondello has that trust in spades. The conspiracy theories are already flying about why New York really made this move. Some insiders are suggesting there was a power struggle between Brondello and the front office about roster construction. Others think ownership wanted a yes person who wouldn't challenge their decisions. But the most intriguing theory is that certain powerful figures in the league didn't want New York to become too dominant and applied pressure behind the scenes. Think about it. The Liberty, with a healthy roster and Brondello at the helm, could have won 3 or 4 championships in a row. That's not good for league parity. And we all know how obsessed professional sports leagues are with maintaining competitive balance. What makes this even more fascinating is looking at what Brondello actually brings to the table tactically. She's not just a player's coach who relies on talent alone. This woman is a basketball genius who adapts her system to maximize her personnel. With Phoenix, she ran a completely different style than she did with New York because she understood her players' strengths. Imagine her designing plays specifically for Caitlin Clark's logo range threes and no-look passes. Picture her creating defensive schemes that protect Clark while allowing her to gamble for steals. Think about the out-of-bounds plays, the after-timeout sets, and the late-game execution that separates good teams from champions. Like and subscribe right now if you want to see this partnership happen, because the momentum is building fast. Fever fans are organizing social media campaigns, creating hashtags, and even planting billboards near the team facility. The pressure on Indiana's front office is mounting by the hour. They know they have a once-in-a-generation opportunity here. You don't get many chances to hire a coach of Brondello's caliber, especially one who's available right now and would likely jump at the chance to coach Caitlin Clark. The financial implications are staggering, too. Indiana has already seen massive increases in attendance and merchandise sales thanks to Clark. Now imagine if they become legitimate championship contenders with Brondello. We're talking about national television games every week, playoff revenue, and sponsorship deals that could transform the franchise. The Fever could go from a small market